We're well into 2026 now, and we've seen the championship roster for boxing change around quite a bit. Let's go through all the main champions in boxing right now and go over the biggest problems with them. Before we begin, if you like this kind of content, then make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. Starting off this list, we have Alexander Usyk. The main problem with Usyk is that he's just too good. What I mean by this is that he's too technically dominant, which leads to him being able to dismantle and take apart everyone he faces. It's hard to find an opponent who's able to get in the ring with him and make the fight competitive. He's already at a disadvantage because he started his career at cruiserweight, so at heavyweight, almost all of his fights have been against much bigger opponents, with Tyson Fury coming in at 280 pounds in their last fight, whilst Usyk was just 220. With him being so dominant, the outcomes of his fights are very predictable, which can make it boring for casual fans. He's also 39 years old and has beaten pretty much everyone in the cruiser and heavyweight divisions. At this point, there's not really much else for him to do, so he's probably on his way out. For David Benavidez, his biggest problem was that he hasn't had any iconic career-defining wins. Usually, the biggest faces in boxing have some kind of iconic fight or rivalry which shoots them into stardom. Canelo had this when he was a young champion facing Floyd Mayweather, and although he lost that fight, his stock went up and he was able to put himself on the map as the next big star in boxing. Although Benavidez has been in some tough fights and has beaten other champions, he's always been the favourite going into his fights. He hasn't had the chance to prove himself as an underdog, and to be fair to him, it's not really his fault. He has the potential to be the best boxer in the world, and the boxing community knows this. This has led to him being one of the most avoided boxers in the world. A fight with Canelo at super middleweight would have been the ticket for Benavidez to make it into mainstream as a star, but it's clear now that Canelo wanted no part in this. Since then, Benavidez has moved up to cruiserweight and immediately knocked out Gilberto Ramirez to become the new unified champion at cruiserweight. There's a lot of options for him, as he could go for undisputed, or he could look for a fight with Dmitry Bivol to get that career-defining win to finally blow his career up. The biggest problem with Dmitry Bivol right now is that he's too inactive. At the start of 2025, Bivol was on top of the world, having just beaten Artur Beterbiev to become the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world. Bivol's career has been filled with some incredible iconic fights and rivalries, from his two fights with Beterbiev and his incredible win over Canelo, proving to the world that he was a true champion. But straight after his second fight with Beterbiev at the start of 2025, he became inactive. Now, the reason for this is because he got injured and needed to go through surgery on his back to repair a herniated disc, which he's had to deal with for over a decade. His momentum in boxing was going through the roof, and unfortunately, a series of injuries have slowed this down. But hopefully he's able to get back in, and it's looking like we're heading towards a fight with Benavidez. Personally, I'm a big fan of Bivol, so although he's been inactive, I don't want to see him get rushed into a fight with the Mexican monster, because I'd like to see him in top form rather than dealing with an injury going into the fight. Canelo's biggest problem is that he has nothing left to prove. For the past decade, Canelo's been the face of boxing, having won numerous world titles in numerous weight classes, but at this point, it's clear that he's past his best. He still competes at a high level, but he's competing for the same stuff he's already gotten. He's about to face Christian Mbili for the WBC super middleweight title, which he's already won 6 years ago against Callum Smith. He's definitely on his way out, and he's starting to get older because he's now 36 years old, and considering he's been boxing his entire life, that means his body has taken a lot of damage over the years. I can definitely see him retiring after a few more fights because I don't think he's the type of person to keep going past a point where people are concerned for his health. He's at a point where if he were to retire now, he would be celebrated in Mexico and will go down as one of the greatest boxers of all time. For Jaron Ennis, the biggest problem is that he hasn't proven himself. Now, you might be thinking he's a world champion who recently just became unified at super welterweight. How could he have not proven himself? Well, the thing is, he has an incredible reputation and the hype around him is crazy, but his resume just hasn't matched the hype yet. I think he's almost there because he has 2 belts at super welterweight, so if he manages to get to undisputed within the next year or so, he will have lined him up to be the next big face of boxing. The boxing community has very high expectations of him, and if he's able to continue with the momentum he has, he's going to live up to the hype. Ryan Garcia has had a turbulent career filled with controversy, which has led to his biggest problem being inconsistency. He started out his career seeming like the next biggest star in boxing, but after a loss to Gervonta Davis and a character change into an arrogant alcoholic, people weren't sure what to make of him. He managed to beat Devin Haney to become a world champion, but this would be overturned after he got popped for steroids. He then managed to come back, but lost to Rolly Romero, and just when it seemed like he was done, he managed to capture the WBC welterweight title from Mario Sergio Barrios to get his name back in the headlines for the right reasons. This lack of consistency has resulted in him having long layoffs and has probably led to him not reaching his full potential. The good news is he's still in his prime, and as a young champion he can still live up to the hype and have a star-studded career. This can only happen if he stays focused and takes boxing seriously. The biggest problem for Shakur Stevenson is that he's too boring. Now, I love boxing and I can appreciate his style. He's technically near flawless and executes his game plan to precision. The problem is, this just doesn't appeal to casual boxing fans. He's defensively sound and extremely difficult to hit, but casual boxing fans would prefer to watch knockouts and shootouts. This has led to Shakur having a bright career filled with boring moments, and this is just too hard to promote. People remember the dramatic fights filled with controversy and unforgettable rivalry. He's trying to compete with other stars who have bigger personalities and more crowd-friendly styles. He also has a reputation of being high risk without being a big financial draw. This means that fighters would be smart to avoid him because there just isn't much to gain. This isn't something that can really be fixed because Shakur's fought like this his whole life. Trying to switch it up now would be disastrous because he would be taking away the thing that made him successful. He will go down as one of the best boxers of this era, but without becoming one of its biggest stars. The problem with Gervonta Davis is that he hasn't done enough. Gervonta Tank Davis has all the skills necessary to take over the sport. Power, skill, IQ, and defense. So why hasn't he done much? He's fought good fighters before, but every time he fought someone, there was always someone better that he could have fought at the same time. He's never really been an underdog in any of his fights. He started out with all the momentum in the world and it was looking like he would be the next face of boxing, but he just hasn't met his potential. He's the biggest draw in boxing right now because of his personality and his highly entertaining style. And early in his career, people wanted to see him become a champion, but he's gone and done that, so the things left for him are to unify titles, beat fellow elite champions, and build a resume of all-time great fights. At the rate he's going, he will be remembered as an entertaining champion, but won't go down as an all-time great due to lack of achievements. He still has time to build up his resume and chase greatness because he's only 31, but that means he needs to be focused on what's important and chase bigger challenges. Last but not least, we have Naoya Inoue. The biggest problem with Naoya Inoue is that he's just too good. He's beaten basically everyone near his weight, and after becoming undisputed at super bantamweight, it's become clear that he's running out of opponents. He's been dominating every division he's in, and the fights that he gets into, people are expecting him to win. Weight is also becoming a problem because as he moves up, his opponents are gaining the physical advantages. As he's starting to run out of things to do, he's running into a similar problem as Canelo, where it's hard to build a legacy on ground you've already covered. He's basically almost maxed out his achievements, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing because it means he fulfilled his potential and lived up to the hype. He's a massive star in Asia and he will go down as the best Japanese boxer of all time. Now, there's a lot of champions left in boxing that I haven't covered, and I may need to do another video to bring up these boxers. Let me know who you think is missing from this video, and what do you think is the biggest problem with your favorite boxer?